Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has met with his US counterpart Joe Biden after arriving at the White House. Joining me now live is CNN reporter Kevin Liptak. Kevin, what is on the agenda today?
Well, certainly President Zelensky and President Biden want to put forward a united front on this, President Zelensky's first trip outside of Ukraine since the war there began 300 days ago. And we did see him arrive at Joint Base Andrews, which is just outside of Washington. He was flown here on a U.S. military aircraft. He arrived to the White House mid-afternoon Washington time. The President Biden, met him out there with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, and they are now in the Oval Office meeting for these very high-stake talks. They did speak a little bit to the press beforehand, President Biden saying that the United States was firm in its commitments to Ukraine. President Zelensky offering appreciation to the United States for all of the support that it's provided. But President Biden making kind of an interesting comment saying that the U.S. Will support Zelensky in his quest for what he calls a just peace in Ukraine. And that is sort of the subtext for this visit and for these talks is what happens next on the ground in Ukraine? How does this conflict come to an end? And certainly President Biden, in inviting President Zelensky here to Washington, did want to sound him out about where he sees this conflict going. And of course, this visit is rife with symbolism. You do hear references here in Washington to that visit in 1941 by Winston Churchill in the weeks following Pearl Harbor, but it is about more than symbolism. Certainly, President Biden would not ask President Zelensky to endure the risks of this visit if he did not think that he could accomplish something face-to-face that he couldn't accomplish over the telephone. And so President Biden is going to announce a major security assistance package, $1.8 billion, including those Patriot missiles, which allow Ukraine to shoot down Russian missiles at a much higher ceiling than they are able to do now. And that is something that President Zelensky had been asking for quite a long time. We will also hear President Zelensky address the U.S. Congress later today. It's certainly his message there to Republicans and to Democrats and really to the American public at large will be that the war in Ukraine is still ongoing and that support for Ukrainian military is very much still needed. And so we will see these two presidents come out in about an hour or two. They will take questions from reporters, and it will be interesting to hear how they characterize their talks at what President Biden really views as an inflection point in this conflict as winter sets in, as Russian President Vladimir Putin increasingly targets civilian infrastructure. It will be very interesting to see whether they could come to any agreement or whether they could gain any more clarity about what the next phase of this war will be.
It's going to be very interesting to hear what the pair have to say. Kevin Liptak, thank you.